So ForgeRock is one of the most prominent, open system, tool which we use for identity management and access management in terms of a general cyber security space, where we might integrate ForgeRock with operating system like Windows, operating system like Linux, and various other systems via some configuration methods, like we'll set up some calls in terms of either Windows have these service request via Active Directory to set up the user group user and user policies for a given user or for a given group of users, and then it can be filtered via ForgeRock also. And ForgeRock sits on Windows operating system to filter all these access management and ID management for a given computer, for a given network, or basically for a given digital entities as well, like a database, like a web server installed on the same server, physical or logical, whatever it may be. So like that, ForgeRock is kind of channeling mechanism, which is normally referred as an open IDM in general cybersecurity space. This is one of the most important tool after Active Directory. We have to do it in terms of understanding, because quite a few organizations still use ForgeRock as their basic identity management software, because it's free, it's an open system, and commercially you might pay $20, $40 depending upon your commercialization of these IDIM accounts. You might still use ForgeRock as your base identity access management software. Does that make sense? Any technicality which I can explain in details? If you have any confusion, questions. I know we are getting into the great number of technicality details. Anuj sir, do you want to add anything?
No, sir.
Okay. So does anybody have any question for me at this moment? No. Let's move on to the other tool. Please have a look at the recording. If you have questions, we are ready for you. Okay, and we'll happy to answer all your questions and queries. Next one is Okta. It's called Authentication Zero. Okta divides the IAM tools into a lot of different offerings that can come together under a single platform, customized to the customer need. So Okta basically started as a singular service for user ID and password management. Then they evolved into the actual access management area, and that's how they have these multiple offerings with a single software. So this is like a customization of a given entity. You might get a basic car with the lowest possible CC and 4-seater and so on and so forth, or you can get a sedan with a better engine, 5-seater or 6-seater depending upon your requirement, or you can get a full-size car like Crown Victoria, Grand Marquis, and Oldsmobile and all those things. So these kind of various customizations are available in terms of Okta as far as ID and IAM tools, and that's the beauty of Okta. Okta is quite older tool which is used by quite a few many, but they have lost their business to good number of tools, specifically whenever we move to the cloud segments of the world. So during 2015 to 2017, Okta have lost quite a good number of their market share. But yes, it's one of the tool which might be used to a kind of older IT companies, and even good number of Indian IT companies. They use Okta as a identity management or access management software within themselves. So that's why Okta basically is one of the prominent tools which we're going to learn, which we're going to understand. So Okta divides its IAM tools into a lot of different offerings. So different offerings can be one for a single computer or an individual computer, one can be for the network, one can be for the outside access, and so on and so forth. Can come together under a single platform customized to the customer needs. Individual products include single sign-on, where you might install a password manager. That's how Okta started. So whatever you do on your computer, the password can be saved to the Okta password engine. And next time, whenever you visit that site, you don't have to key in your password. But of course, for banking and non-banking financial, as for your local and state law as well as federal law, you need to comply to that. So even single sign-on has its own limitation. But yes, Okta was really prominent when single sign-on was in full demand. So individual products include single sign-on, authentication services, user management services in terms of the hierarchy, authentication in terms of creating new user, granting him various levels of authentication. User management is basically trying to set up a hierarchy amongst users, how much restrictions, how much access he or she should get. In terms of B2B integration, something like Amazon. These are all e-commerce websites where we have large number of users, might be running to millions of users for a given installation. And if you if you want to go into depth, there are some sort of a regional restrictions to the user also. Like if Ravindra got registered on Amazon from St. Louis and he moved to LA, Los Angeles, and he was using Amazon from Los Angeles site. So whenever you log into the Amazon will check for your GPS. Are you in California? Then you'll get the California offers. If you are in St. Louis, you'll get the St. Louis offer. But yes, Amazon is like a customer-centric portal will definitely check about your location, and he might the Amazon might come to you and say, hey Ravindra, I want to check your local coordinates. Could you please allow me to? Otherwise, you'll get by default St. Louis offers, which might be kind of delayed to you. And believe me, the way companies like Amazon work, they specialized in quicker deliveries or efficient deliveries, as they call it, right? So that way they have to know the general coordinates in terms of the region you are residing. And most of the time, they normally try to locate the actual GPS coordinates, which can be cryptic, like 17.3489 something something something, or 16 dot something 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 something, or 340 dot something something something, up to 6 digit. And that's how they normally track a house basically, in terms of providing the best efficient service. And that's how it works in terms of how the BTB is getting integrated via such ID and access management tools. Advanced server access in terms of guiding the server in terms of load balancing. So for a given area like Los Angeles, there could be bigger caliber server, like number of processor, RAM, storage will be much bigger than a St. Louis Amazon server. This is basically in terms of how the server should serve how many users at a given point of time. At a peak, even through December, Amazon procures lots of extra server to serve user better in terms of the December purchase rush, specifically in North America. And these are generic, thought processes are built into marketing. And even these cloud services, they know like Amazon will need more servers, and they normally enact specific servers specifically during the winter sessions as well, during winter seasons as well. Then we have APM access management. Application programming interface talks about getting connected to a softwares like Windows, getting connected to a softwares like Office 365 and various other softwares which can be accessed via cloud. And we normally give the restricted access to the users as per of their privilege, as per their hierarchy, as per their payment model, and so on and so forth. You might have a universal directory and lifecycle management. This talks about whenever you have a regional services, like one for St. Louis, other for LA, but you are serving almost similar thing. Of course, the output or the result might be different in terms of the regional you are serving, but still you are serving in a similar model. So for such scenario, you might have a universal directory in terms of Ravindra getting registered on your St. Louis server, might be notified to the generic data center where Ravindra is a user of Amazon. As simple as that. And if Ravindra moves to either LA or India or Canada, he still is a registered user, and Amazon can retrieve his history in terms of his dealing, his payment, most selected payments, and so on and so forth. So like that, some platform have this universal directory and lifecycle management. Lifecycle in the sense, if Ravindra decides to deregister or cancel his registration, that can be a end of engagement for such retailer with Ravindra, right? And so the overall process of authentications can be deleted, can be removed from the database. That's what we call a life cycle. Someone registered, someone utilized the service, somebody might have deregistered or expired his subscription. In a normal cloud scenario, subscription also talks about lots of services given on a schedule. So you might access Netflix for a month at so and so dollar. If you want to access it for a year, you might pay so many dollars, and so on and so forth. These are all schedule or a calendar-based subscription model. So all these users have a specific life cycle. You get registered, you pay for a subscription, and then you get deregistered or your subscription ends. This is what we call the life cycle of a given ID and access management tool. Could you understand the life cycle management concept and the universal directory concept for IDM, IAM tools? Anybody have any questions? Anybody want to share their thoughts on this? Have you understood what I'm trying to say? Could you hear me? Am I audible?
Yes, sir.
Yes, yes, sir.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. Is it easy enough to understand the universal directory and lifecycle management? You might write an answer to what is universal directory and what is lifecycle management. Okay, can anybody explain in their word what do you understood by universal directory? We have telephone directory, right, where we have name, phone, and address sometimes. So this way the directory is for reference whoever is new to that area, something like that. Here we have a universal directory which is a digital maintained on a server for the user registered with them. In terms of lifecycle management, if you have a subscription model, then you attach lifecycle management to the universal directory also. Can anybody explain universal directory in their word with their example, whatever, if you understood? Just give it a try. Nobody wants to give it a try? Okay, life cycle management. Does anybody wants to try on life cycle management? What you understood by life cycle management? Are you understanding what I'm trying to say here?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Do you want to try for life cycle management answering, sir? What is life cycle management?
So all systems, especially operating systems, have an expiration date. It's the last day when the vendors themselves can support the system. So when we're getting more and more closer to the expiration date, we got to figure out how to upgrade the system so that it gets current secure updates.
Great. That's a way of software life cycle management. Very greatly explained. Same thing goes for your mobile device also. You might have purchased a prepaid plan for 3 months, right? And then at the end of at the end of almost 3 months, the phone company started pinging you, sending you SMS, WhatsApp message, emails, like your plan is going to get ended in next few days. If you want to continue, please recharge or whatever the actions needs to be taken, and so on and so forth. So this way, a life cycle management for telecom user, as we normally refer to it. And that's how it's really great example. Thank you. Thanks a lot. I believe everybody understood universal directory and lifecycle management. The Okta IAM platform, known as one of the best taming and identities of companies acquired through mergers and acquisitions. So even Okta have acquired a good number of companies for the cloud storage capability, identity management, and so on and so forth. When one company buys another, they inherit all the over permission, inactive users, legacy of IAM tools of the other organizations also. So if one company purchases another company, all the users from the company which got purchased merge with the users of the company who have purchased that company. Now there could be some users or identification or permission given to such users has to be revised, and Okta has a specific mechanism for such inactive users or a legacy user as they want to call it, and try to reduce the permissions with a no trust policy or zero trust policy. What it means, you normally start at a zero, and then as per the user request, you keep granting him or her the access required for his or her job to get it done for a given employment. And that's how you expand the horizons of users privileges in a such way. The Okta's tool can consolidate and centralize directory. Consolidate, as we've seen in universal directory, we can consolidate number of directories together. They have a real-time synchronization in between themselves. Like if you are a subscriber of a mobile company, you are registered with one mobile company, but when you move to the another regions of a different mobile company, the company can vouch for your registration of your phone with other company as well, and this is how you normally consolidate the centralized user directories. Automate the IT process. This happens automatically rather than without any manual intervention, and quickly secure the identity at a recently acquired companies so that no critical vulnerabilities tag along as a part of sale. So whenever you registered with a local mobile vendor and you move out of the local mobile vendors, service area network, and you land into the another service area network. Now your registration will be verified that second area network with the original mobile service area network, and they will still let you carry on with all your services you are subscribed for. Might be some with added price, or nowadays all the roamings are almost free, because all these mobile companies, they work on a voice over IP or voice over network kind of phone calling way. Now whatever we are doing, we are just paying for whatever data we use, and that's a kind of uniform model this telecom industry have been built. I'm just sharing this with you on a extra node to understand how this works for a mobile services. But yes, if you don't want to, you might skip these things and just remember what I mean by universal directory, lifecycle management, the centralized directory, and the automation process. And the example you can give it to the interviewer in case if he or she asks you, how do you make sure these universal directory or universal lifecycle management for a given mobile users. And that's how Okta was one of the flagship product before a few years in basically utilizing these services like universal directory and lifecycle management. Now quite a good companies, quite a good tools does acquire these services within their softwares as well.
Excuse me.
Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
So this kind of tools can manage thousands of users at a time?
Millions of users, sir. That's the beauty of
Okay.
these tools. Because if you look at mobile users, right, and if you consider a city you are living in and the city you are traveling, let's say you are living in New York and you are decided to move to LA for a weekend, your mobile should work, right? They might charge you some extra dollars for these roaming, or what they call it, roaming charges, right? So but still your phone should work. You don't have to procure another SIM, another phone, and so on and so forth. This is how the flexibility we have acquired in all such ID and access management tools. These tools help those mobile service provider servers to help out, like Ravindra is moving from New York to LA for a weekend or for a couple of days for a seminar, training, and all those things. And these things do happen in a real world, even across countries. Believe me, there are good number of influx from Canada to North America on a given day. And this is how we work in today's mobile world, as we call it. Is that a right statement? Could you understand what I'm trying to say, sir?
Yes.
And
Thank you.
example, yeah, you can, you might have practically experienced by yourself as well. Even to give you details, there are good number of cars who have GPS, embedded into them. And GPS services normally are serviced on a regional basis. So if you have used your GPS on a high-end car, might be like a BMW, Ferrari, or any high-end car for that matters, whenever this car travels from one state to another, or from one GPS service provider to another GPS service provider, the services still continues. And there are some companies who normally brand themselves as a global one. So even if you travel from, let's say, North America to the Spain, still your car's GPS services are active and enabled all the time. And that's the beauty of these, universal directory and lifecycle management. Nowadays, this is a default service. But when in good old days, when I had my first mobile phone in 1999, whenever I used to leave St. Louis and might be travel to some Chicago for lecture and all those things, that time I used to have a loss of service, or your mobile couldn't be registered on different service provider, and I have experienced this scenario. So mobile was not that effective in those good old years. But as come 2002, 2003, the overall North America is covered with all different service provider, and they started a model for roaming services. They might charge you a couple of premium dollars on a day basis for utilizing their services or utilizing your service provider services via their services. And yes, this was a good model for quite a good number of years. Then we have these universal directory and lifecycle management. Nowadays is just universal. So all these roaming charges and everything are most probably included in your monthly bill. But still, there are some service provider who have a restricted services. They might pay other service provider these roaming charges also, and they might pass on to you as well, depending upon their business model, their strategy to grab new customers and all those things. It does play a quite a good amount of part in such universal supporting user universally, and giving them all the facilities they have opted for, they are subscribed for. Let me play you a small video. Let me have a let me show you the website of octa.com. This is the actual site. Oh, come on. I don't know, why can't I copy these things? Yes, I'll go here. This is the homepage of octa.com. This is the real homepage as of right now. You can sign up, and you can try out these things in terms of how Okta can be understood from a customer identity cloud, workforce identity, and then there was a seminar, I believe. You can watch the recordings where these mice have been sharing different facilities they have included in the latest software and all those things. And they're basically customer references, or customer what you can say, what do you call this, customers a depiction of how they find this software good and all those things as well. Also there are these Gartner and Forrester software grading or data validations, or data analyst companies giving their details in terms of how Okta is doing well in energy sectors, public sector, and so on and so forth. So you might want to go through this thing. Again, nowadays the questions are quite few and far and few on Okta, because it's not really that what you can say, cope up with the latest modernization in IDM and toolset. But still, there could be some Okta favorite interviewer might ask you how do you manage universal directories, what do you mean by universal directories, and all those things. And then you can refer these software as well. Let me give you some good videos of understanding of Okta UI look likes. How do you add a user? How do you add a group directory, and so on and so forth. I'll also share this link of octa.com where you can go through these things. Okay. Does anybody have any question for me on Okta as of now? Anu sir, do you want to add anything, sir?
No, sir.
Right? No problem. So let's move on to the another tool. Again, you might have understood like all these tools are basically similar in terms of how they can be, helping the similar services for the users, right? Now another, tool called One Login. It's called One Login Trusted Experience Platform. Now again, the nomenclature they use for naming the tool is specifically for marketing and sales purpose. It might not have to do with anything in terms of technicality. Here also we are looking at similar type of services given by such software, specifically like universal directory services, users lifecycle management, the access management, and identity management overall. The Trusted One Experience platform from One Login is designed to provide IAM to companies or organizations that as inexpensively as possible. Again, inexpensively is a sales and marketing terminology. It means that it's a commercial tool, so you need to pay it certain amounts. When it comes to open source, it's a free tool, so you can use it free of cost. You don't have to pay $1 to use such tools. Even though they are self-built as the budget options within IAM, the tools they offer including ability to manage internal, partner, and customer identities. Now let me take a minute and try to tell you about Amazon EC2 services. EC2 services is as they call Elasticity Cloud. What these services are specifically built on, something called self-build as a budget option within IAM. What it means, like pay per as you use. Actually, if you want to ask me, the cable services what we use have started basically under these model. So the way you use, you pay for whatever you use. But nowadays all these money hogging giants in terms of cable supported company have a subscription model. So you subscribe at let's say $300 and you have these gold pack-in plans. Even if you don't view your cable for let's say 15-20 days, still they bill you left and right because you have subscribed. And similar way here also they talk about self-built thing. Amazon also talk about Elasticity Cloud too, where they say whatever cloud usage you are using or consuming, you pay for that only. But at the end of the day, it's a subscription model. So you need to have certain subscription purchased. And when you purchase certain subscription, you have to pay either upfront or what you can say prepaid services. And that's how they use these revenue building model to milk out more revenue if they try to use anything more in terms of if your server has a storage of 8 gig available to it, and some user might create some data or upload some big data file and the server cross the limit of 8 gig, the another 2 gig might be allotted to your volume but at a premium price because you have subscribed for 8 gig as a storage device or storage size. And this is how these guys make a money. Same thing with One Login. I don't have anything against One Login or Amazon EC2, but that's how they build their commercial models. And they try to use these really great word like self-build or Elasticity Cloud, in purchase of inexpensive cloud subscriber model, and so on and so forth. So please be aware and read a complete contractual document before you subscribe to such services. Again, even though they are self-built as a budget option with identity access management, the tools they offer including ability to manage internal, partner, and customer identity have been tested and proven in evolution by third-party research firms like Gartner and all those things. Now here we are talking about a 3 different set of users. Internal users means employees. Partners means like vendors or the companies who supply raw material or any type of material to you, to your organizations. And customer means end users who use your services. So for Amazon, the internal might be an Amazon executives or Amazon support staff. Partner can be let's say a TV sold by LG or Sony on Amazon. These can be partners, and a customer, Ravindra, purchasing a Sony TV from Amazon for his St. Louis house. And this way, the whole three different categories of users or a group of users can be managed differently with these self-built budget options. So like if you have 100 users, you'll pay the subscription for 100 users only. One Login is a cloud-based, identity access management platform. They have a small, smart client which get downloaded to your desktop, laptop, smartphone, which normally filters the request through your, laptop, desktop, or smartphone for the relevant, one login synchronization or data synchronization mechanism. One key to the success of the platform is that the functionality is separated so that customer can add whatever components of IAM they need in exactly the numbers they required using a la carte pricing. Now, la carte pricing or customized pricing or self-built as the budget option, these are one and the same thing with very few or minor differences. We don't want to go there. These are their marketing and sales tactics. So when it comes to something like elasticity cloud, self-build budget option, or la carte pricing, please try to understand these are all marketing gimmicks or a sell gimmicks. They want to sell more of their licenses on the cloud, of course, nowadays in a modern world. But at the end of the day, they are just trying to, you know, gather more customers or grab attention of more users in a way to start their subscription model to be sold to the end level consumer. This make IAM accessible to example small firm such as just a few employees that need to protect their data internally. They can then grow over times as they add new employees, customers, technology, and partners. That's what the scalability is all about. So here we are talking about the scaling of the business with the IAM tool. So if you start your organizations with 3 or 4 employees, you can go ahead with one login and pay them, let's say $15 a year. If you migrate to more user model, let's say 15 or 20 user model, you might pay them $20-30 per year. Again, depending upon their latest subscription model, you need to check on the pricing. I'm just giving you a raw example how number of user basically makes the IAM database more complicated. So you have more user, more roles, more different category of users. Might be internal, partner, customers. Within internal, you might have different level of employees, like an executive, a manager, an administrator, or a CEO, CFO, and all those kind of different users accessing via these trusted IAM ID platform. And that's how I normally create these number of user as per I need, and then I can keep growing over the time as per my need as well. So one login does provide you a flexible model, which is really advantageous in some scenario. But still, technically, we can just say it's a scalable as per the pricing, as per the cost. And that's all we need to explain in terms of these la carte pricing or self-build budget option or elasticity cloud and so on and so forth. Does that make sense? Anybody have any questions on these? Now again, this technicality we need to understand and need to explain to the interviewers if he or she asks such specific questions. Okay. Anuj sir, do you want to add anything, sir?
No, sir.
Thank you, sir. If you have any questions, I'll share the recording after these things. Please have a look at it and come back to me. We'll be glad to help you out. Okay. Then ping identity. Okay, let me show you the website also. I'll share the PPT as well so that you can go through all these links. Oh, come on. Now this is the one logging site. It's simple, professional, it's a good old company, so you can basically go through it. What are the facilities they have. Again, it's a more or less sales or marketing type of website. They talk about their one login solutions specifically for these two different things. And
Sir,
believe me, yeah, go ahead,
like,
please.
I can't see the site. I still see the one login
Oh,
PowerPoint.
sorry. I think that share screen have not worked. Okay, let me start share again. Stop share, start share. Yeah. Could you see, sir, now? One login by
I can see
PM.
it now.
Yeah, this is the logo and all those things. So you might go to the solution and try to understand what are different type of solutions they have for us. Come on, or products as well. So here we have one login access for desktop. Sandbox is a group of servers we are talking about mostly. Then you have mobile identity, virtual, LDAP. LDAP is basically, oh man, I forgot the long form of LDAP. These are basically a different server gather into one, user groups serving those servers and, those scenario as well. Then we have API tools keys, user migration tools, and so on and so forth. Come on, this is really annoying. There's a workforce identity, and there are customer identity, and so on and so forth. Okay, if you look at the website overall, you have good number of marketing materials here, and they have some some video also, I believe. Yes, listen.
Threat actors, they're constantly on the prowl. They're hungry and opportunistic. Right now, they're tracking your customers' online activities for an easy meal. Don't risk your customers' data to today's apex digital predators. You can protect your customers' access and all your digital resources and provide a frictionless and secure login experience. Look for upcoming announcements from One Login by One Identity. Follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn and learn more about our customer identity and access management solutions at onelogin.com/CIAM.
So they are really marketing on their security within those user data to be secure on your local site and all those things as well. So they have two different software: workforce identity for organization, customer identity specifically for big retail giant like consumers also. So you can have a look at their use case also: easy bundle pricing, la carte pricing, robust and IAM platform pricing, and all those things also. Resource optimization, conservation, and blah blah blah. For defense. Okay, no problem. So this is all about one login as an scenario, how you can see this one logging in terms of okay, no problem. One login trusted platform experience. Okay, does anybody have any questions on one login as of now? No problem. Let's move on to the ping identity. Now, again, these many tools which we have seen, these are not limited. And whenever we come to an interview where they are asking any new tools for IDIM, we might review those things as well. And we might review in details. Even one of these few tools, we might do in details whenever we do actual interviewing session, where we might, show you the site or showcase you some video in terms of how to create a user, how to set up these access management roles, responsibility, authorization for a given user or for a group of user. That's all we do in terms of identity management and access management. We create an identity of a user and we give access to the different digital logical entity within your gamut of available services, gamut of available accesses there to give within an organization, right? Now let's try to understand this ping identity, intelligent identity platform. This is a really evolved platform This is, I think, around 8 to 10-year-old platform which have started in 2015, 2016 some way, and there they have really improved their way in terms of a better cloud management platform or kind of modern cloud management platform. The Ping Intelligent Identity Platform is designed to move organizations toward a more secure environment all the way up to the zero trust networking. Again, we discussed about zero trust. Zero trust networking talk about anybody who is a part of network has to be started with a zero trust. And then we start giving additional privileges as we build up trust along the way, along the timelines. The platform consists of a bundle of both generalized tools like single sign-on normally called as a SSO, and multi-factor authorization or MFA, as well as highly specialized ones that platform tasks like improving the security of a Zoom, Slack, and Concur platforms. These are the platforms which are basically coupled with Ping Identity to start with. So Zoom uses Ping Identity internally. You don't know, right? How Zoom uses these access rights given to different, users who want to access, who are basically kind of administrating such session like me or Anuj sir. What happens when you make a co-host? What is a host? What is a commercial license procurer, and so on so forth. So like that, we have a different level of users in a given Zoom, and we can clearly understand one by one, right? You being the consumer, you being the user, or you being the what you can say, uh, getting the knowledge part, then me and Anuj sir can be delivered or can be your trainers, and then there's a Guru School as an organizations who purchase these license to serve their training. So training is a channel where we are delivering our content to you in terms of for this knowledge acquisition and so on and so forth. So like that, we have multiple different types of user, and you might use a single sign-on, and you just click, and assign different authorization, like I am making you a co-host so that you can present, and so on and so forth. So you can combine the users in terms of their roles and responsibility. In a way, you capture these different role shifting or authorization and authentication, access granting or revoking via simple clicks. And this is how the Ping Identity is one of the most prominent service provider as far as IDM, ID and IAM tools for all these platform like Zoom, Slack, or as you can say Zoom, you can say online video conferencing software, Slack or Concur. These are, I believe, social platforms, and they have this Ping Identity they've been using internally. One of the most innovative aspect of Ping Identity platform is Ping Zero. Like the Trust Zero, they want to call it Ping Zero, which is designed to help eliminate most password from an organization without compromising security. What do you mean by eliminate most password? Let's say you have implemented a rule of reinitializing password who are not secure, or you just change the rule to a password length from 8 to 10, and all password now has to have a minimum length of 10. So all such password will get flushed out, will get reassigned, or the user will get a request, your password has been expired, please comply with the new rules of length of a 10 password, or something like that, any of such scenario. And you can do it such rule engine included in the Ping Identity platform, which can let you do that thing. Ping Zero can evaluate a risk policy, biometric devices, setting, and other factors to determine if a user who they claim to be. So you can add some extra second factor or third factor or a fourth factor to make sure whoever user says who he or she is can be able to provide extra information like the OTP or the birth date validation or the zip code validation, and this you can do it on a fly. So I might select a user number 10 to 200, which I might add a user another level of factor authentication to make sure they will be verified whenever they log in next with their birth dates, which should be there, of course, in the database to validate against. And this way you can add a new risk policies or a risk mitigation mechanism to be clear on those things, or add or attach biometrics. Of course, you need to create such parallel database to validate those biometrics as well. This is really useful for the latest modern tools like the mobile phone and laptops. We already have these biometric devices inbuilt into them. Based on the generated risk scores and what the user attempting to do, they can be challenged on a further to further prove their identity, allowed access, or even kicked out if the ping 0 determines they are invalid. Let's say they ask when Ravindra tries to log in to Zoom next time, they might ask, "Hey Ravindra, could you please key me your password again?" Yes, Ravindra keys in. Now we have sent an OTP to your this mobile which is registered with us. Could you please provide those OTP or the numbers you can see on the screen or received by SMS or WhatsApp, what all mechanism that organizations have been included or have been accepted. So this way, all such scenario you might have experienced can be done via Ping Identity, intelligent identity platform. And this way, we can really improve our day-to-day authorization authentication process with second level or two-factor authentication. Does that make sense to you? Anybody have any questions or confusion at this moment? Again, it's easy to say every tool has every facility in the world. It might be labeled differently or bundled differently, but for sales and marketing purpose, all these tools get updated. They try to use whatever services given by others in a way so that they can serve their customer best and they can charge their customer also. And this way, all these organizations might be having all these facility with a different name. So as a cybersecurity expert, we need to understand the typical, most used policies all over, most use these, mumbo jumbo of these words like universal user directory. What are the others? Risk evaluating risk policies. This means that they try to understand if you want to revalidate your user whenever he or she next log in, and then you might update your authorization engine in that context. And this is how all these good marketing words are being implemented practically. And whenever, if you are going to use Ping Identity, you might see this thing in application. Okay, let me share some video on Ping Identity as well so that you can grow and have a look at the UI as well. Again, Ping Identity is a commercial model, so you can't download free of cost. There'll be a kind of 30-day trial period which is available on the website, for which you can download and try to use or play around with the UI. But what I would really like to share with you, whenever you are getting an interview, in those 2-3 days, we might have a look at these tool set, whatever that company is using. And these companies are open enough to share such tool set, whatever they are using. And at that time, you might download this tool and install and try to play around with it. So that if somebody asks any tool specific questions, you might answer that then and there. But on an overview level, I believe you got a clear idea of how identity management and access management tools helps a organization organization to set up their user directory, to set up their different access right, authorization right within their organizations on a particular physical asset or a logical asset in a completely hierarchical or a disciplined way. And most of the tools, you can export the data of users to another tool or get it synchronized with Microsoft Active Directory and such popular product as well. And most of the cloud service provider, they let you extract your user data and share it with another tool as well. And that's how these identity and access management have to be understood and learned by others. So I believe we've completed around 12 such tools within 3 sessions, right? Am I right on that part? Anybody have any confusion on ping identity? Any questions for me on ping identity platform as of now?
Still, I have one question that as per your experience, which tool we have to download?
Sir, ForgeRock will be good because it's open system and you get an ID, right? Otherwise,
Yeah.
you can check out, Windows user management. What version of Windows or what type of operating system you are using, sir?
Windows 11.
Windows, right? So you can go to YouTube and search for Windows 11 user access management or Active Directory. So Windows 11 Active Directory. Or let me do it for you. Give me a minute. So that we'll get to know how to basically search for such IDs, and you can practice on without installing any software. Okay, so I'll go to, let's say, YouTube, and I'll search for your Windows 11 div active directory, because we know Windows follows Active Directories. Okay, I want to do activation, how to install, how to join. Okay, now this talks about how to join an Active Directory domain from Windows. This talks about Active Directory and good policy, how to enable Active Directory users on your computer. Yes, this can be a good video. It's just 1 minute video. So this video talks about how to, pardon me, as I'm started directly using the YouTube, they have all these videos and everything comes as their sales or marketing mechanism. And I'm in India, so they are talking about all Indian companies. Oh, come on. Oh, I did.